hit go and do it. And it's going to be.
Should I be prepared for anything?
No, there's nothing to be prepared about, Frank. It's easy. Fine, nobody cares.
Nobody cares? Yeah, I'm
Nobody
sure.
Nobody cares. Not really.
No, the only thing to be prepared for is Ben already hit record, and he doesn't tell you before he does that.
Come on, Joel. Spoiling my secrets. Anyway, welcome, everyone. Practical Shooting After Dark. On deck tonight, Mr. Joel Park.
Hello.
And Mr. Frank Rizzi.
Hello.
So if you guys are curious who Frank Rizzi is, man, what's a good way of putting it, Frank? You're not here for your shooting creds. You're here for your match director creds. That's a good way of putting it.
Yes, I am not a GM or an M. I'm a lowly B shooter.
Yes, but you do work with your club, and you've got a fun topic to talk about. Glad you're here. I'm sure everybody's going to love it. Before we kick into the topics and get things going, so many fun things happening on the internet. The board of directors started putting out a podcast. So I know people aren't going to listen to it, so I'll just run it down for you quick. Maybe give you a 30-second summary of what the BOC podcast is all about. Sherwin's on there, talked a lot without really saying anything. Jake, the Porta Potty Jake from Low Cap Nationals, you know him, Jake Martins. He's on this podcast. You would actually think he's part of the board of directors just listening to the podcast. Like you'd be like, oh, hey, that guy's the board. And you would think that he's on the board of directors, which is kind of strange, kind of funny. Area 8 director Ted Murphy's on the podcast talking about the bylaw changes. He assured everybody he's making sure the new bylaws are going to be the gender pronoun game is going to be on point. So that's very progressive. I'm glad he's making those changes, of course. And of course, everyone's favorite, Mr. Leighton Uthausen, the Area 2 director, talked a lot on the podcast about how much support they're getting for all the changes they're making. They didn't say what the changes are going to be, but rest assured, people support them. I guess it's actually kind of hilarious, the inherent contradiction of doing a podcast to build support for what you're doing when your story is that people already support it. And of course, you're not putting out there exactly what you're doing. It's great. I've changed my opinion about Leighton. That's one thing I want to say. I did say I wanted to run people against all these people, get rid of them. Not anymore. As far as I'm concerned, we should make Leighton the Area 2 director for life. He is so goddamn entertaining. I never want him off the board. He is awesome. Just makes me laugh. So anyway, let's kick into the topics. Joel, what's going on, man?
A tough act to follow, Ben.
I know, right?
Well, I want to actually talk about, well, some people might think it's a little bit spicy, but it's actually not. I want to talk about voting.
Nobody thinks anything you're going to talk about is going to be spicy.
Well, I mean, voting with your feet for matches, I suppose, is maybe part of the topic, but it's also not going to matches you don't want to, or you don't feel obligated. So a little bit of reference in the past, there's matches close to me, and it's like, I don't really know if I want to go to that. I don't know if that's matches for me. It's maybe like, oh, but it's only 2 hours. It's only an hour away. Oh, it's at our club. You should go to that. Well, it is our area match. Well, it is our section match, whatever. It's like, man, if you don't want to go, just don't go. And oftentimes, like, well, we still do Steel Challenge. And for several years, I would always shoot a USPSA match every month. I'd go shoot the Steel Challenge match every month. I'd go shoot the Pro-Am match. And then I was just kind of like, man, like, I actually was having a conversation with Ben, oddly enough. And I was just like, I don't really, like, it's almost too much. And Ben's like, yeah, just don't go. I was like, oh, yeah. I guess I should have thought of that. And so anyway, like, I have nothing against Steel Challenge. It was too much. Like, honestly, it wasn't productive. It was too many matches. But I felt obligated, like, oh, some of my friends are going to be there, whatever. So anyway, absolutely, like, if I could talk to the version of me, whatever, 5 years ago, it'd be like, don't feel obligated to go to matches if you don't really want to be there. Here, well, Ben, you were just here, yesterday? It is quite cold in the morning. So if it's cold and it's wintertime, I'm absolutely not going to go to the match. I don't care who else is going to be there if it's too cold. And if I wake up that, I want to go, that's cool. But I'm not going to feel obligated if the conditions aren't something that I'm going to have a great time, or it's the off season, or I'm tight on ammo, whatever. So anyway, I guess it's just the message. I don't feel obligated to go to stuff you don't want to. And like at some point it just gets to be too much. I'm just like, man, I need a break from this.
What Well, so much of this is social for people, so they get kind of sucked into, you know,
That's absolutely what it was for me.
like
It's
just,
there's going to be people there I like. Why not go?
yeah.
Yeah, there is kind of a social aspect to it. I get sucked into going to a lot of matches, and I'm like, I really don't want to go. But all the guys from the club are going to be there. I know I'm going to have a good time hanging out with them. The match will be okay, but I'm going to have a good time anyway. So, I'm like, all right, I'll go.
Mm-hmm. Well, and on the flip side of that, I guess if there's a match that I suspect there's going to be a problem with the stages, officiating, it's not going to be fair, or there's something I just don't like for whatever reason, like spider sense tingling, I don't care if it's 5 minutes or 5 hours from my house. Like, I'm not going to go if I just, from now on, I don't feel obligated to go to something I don't want to. And I think too many people fall into that where they're just like, well, it might not be good, but I'm still going to go because it's an hour from my house or my club match or whatever.
Well, really the big problem is this is what causes burnout, really.
Mm-hmm.
So where you're constantly having stuff that you have to do, and you don't, I mean, it's nice to take a break sometimes and you build your desire to shoot again. Sometimes you want to train more and shoot less matches. So, there's a lot of reasons not to go to matches. This is especially common with guys who live down south where they have matches year round.
I can
It's
see
like,
that.
yeah, say, hey man, why don't you just take an off season? And it's, just don't do anything for a couple months when it's convenient for you or something like that. You don't have to always be going at it.
Yep.
And that's what keeps you fresh, especially if guys are busy building matches and doing all this stuff, right, Frank? Doesn't leave a lot of time for practice.
No, it doesn't. It's definitely true. I spent a lot of time building stages and putting matches together on the ground. Building up a club. I started our club at Colonial in Staten Island in New York City. We started about 3 years ago, and it's really taken off from them. We had the first match we did. We had a bunch of club guys show up, and then little by little, I got guys coming from upstate New York, from Long Island, from Jersey, guys from all over the area showing up. I'm like, wow, this is wild.
Mm-hmm.
And it really took off from there. I mean, we got a match coming up this Saturday, and I got 80 people signed up for that match. And we only shoot a 5-stage match, so it's really taken off.
That's awesome.
Yes, but then eventually, like, the trick for you is now to find a way to pass this off to somebody or make it. But seriously, right? Because it's like, now is like, if you don't make it happen, who will? And that's not a good. It's not a good long-term situation.
It's not that easy. Once people realize how much work is actually involved in running a club match,
yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, if you have to do that for the next 5 years, you're going to put the C in BOC, my man, whether you want to or not.
You'll be donezo. So actually, what we started doing at my club, we had a bit of a situation, and it turned out one person kind of running the club ended up not being around, and so we ended up just dividing up the workload. And so we have a bunch of different people that are all very capable. We have this person will do scores for a couple months. This person does the match director. This person organized to make sure we have stage designers. We got a handful of people that can proof, and then it kind of turned into a group effort more than just one person stuck with the burden, which has been super good because I don't want to be there every single month. And if I'm like,
well, how does it? But you guys have a different match director every month, is it?
We have an Excel sheet just with a sign up in our Google Drive for our club. So,
oh yeah, man! Imagine if you had something like that, Frank.
Yeah, that would be great.
So it's been fantastic. I mean, honestly, I guess they'll hear this. Being straight with you, not everyone was qualified to do that at the beginning. But it's like, who's the most qualified? I'm like, oh, well, why don't you just hang out with me? And then it's like on the job training. You just, hey, hang out with me for the day. I'll kind of show you what I do. It's not that tough. And the next thing you know, you walk around like, oh, it's no big deal. Oh, have this person go check the stage. They'll know what they're looking at. And the next thing you know, it turns out from 1 or 2 people that's really qualified to a dozen people that is really qualified. So anyway, it's been really good for our environment.
So Joel, is that the best way to go about doing that? To get a couple of people who are willing to do the work, but don't, they really aren't up to speed in what goes on. Just have them follow you and shadow you. And
well, what I tried to do was show them that it actually wasn't as much work as they thought it was.
Well,
being honest with you.
Well, hold on. Let's say so. Imagine if you're the match director, Frank. You don't have to do much imagining for this. You're the match director. 8 months a year, you have to put a match there. maybe you get some help with setup. Some guys come out and do that, or maybe guys help with different things. But at the end of the day, you're the dude responsible for that match that has to make it happen, right? If nobody shows up for setup,
It's a setup. I'm there by myself.
correct, because you're going to make it happen because you're the man, right? You're the match director.
What?
Shit. Joel, is Frank cutting out for you a little bit?
Yeah, he froze a little bit.
How's the internet there? How's the internet there in New York there, Frank? Fuck.
That should be pretty good.
God damn it.
Hopefully
Yeah.
he'll come back.
Yes. Well, maybe I don't know if I'm going to have to repeat this. But if you're the man, like it's one dude.
Oh, I think he's back.
Oh, he's back. So anyway, if one dude has to make it, like you're the dude that makes it happen, like you don't really have to know all that much to make it happen. You have to understand, the tablets and all that stuff, how to physically build the stages, how to do the match admin stuff. But it's not a huge amount of stuff, but it's just you have to make it happen. If you have, and really the hang up for people taking on that role isn't like, can they do it or can they not? It's more like, okay, you're the match director, like for the whole year, like you have to make everything, like you're the dude making it happen every month, that year. If you have a club where you've got 4 or 5 guys who are capable of doing that stuff, then you just make one of them like you're the man in March, and then the next guy's like you're the man in April. And it's like you just rotate that around, and that becomes a way easier sell for any one of those individuals, right? It's like you're not match director for the whole year, bro. Like make it happen. You make it happen in April. You're the man. And then if you can help like other stuff, the rest of it, it's like, yeah, that's great. You pitch in when you can, and you kind of work as a team, kind of splitting up duties. As I've traveled around, that system is the best system I've seen at any club. I mean, there's a few clubs that do that where they have a group, and then they'll do things like, hey, you can go build a stage for this month, and just some guy just can build a stage, and then the other guys on the team kind of check it out, make sure it's good, and that's the way you kind of get more people involved and that kind of thing. And you don't have a situation where there's one guy who maybe he's not doing all the work himself, but at the end of the day, it's his responsibility, and that's a big toll. And you kind of shift that around. It works pretty well, I think. And I sold you on this system, Joel, when you guys were kind of reforming your club, yeah?
Yes, we had several conversations about this, and it's
I was like, this is what you guys got to do.
And because I'm me, I just made a little Word document. It's got like 7 or 6 bullet points. Like, what does the match director expect to do? Be there the first person to unlock the shed so people get access. Okay. Make sure there's enough people signed up to build stages. Like, done. Okay. And then you just show people like, hey, it's not really that tough. Hang out with me for a month or 2 months until you're comfortable. And then, we've got a couple like top 16 Deathstalker guys at my club. So like if my homeboy Lane's setting up a stage, I absolutely do not need to babysit him. It's going to be fine. It might be a little difficulty might be a little bit high, but it's going to be fine. But then there's somebody like, oh, this person's never set up a stage. I'll send somebody else over there, a veteran stage builder. Like, this is probably their first or second month. Just hang out with them if you would. And then, you kind of see people floating around the parking lot with hands in their pockets. Like, hey, would you mind helping that guy out? And they're not going to say no. And the next thing you know, it's just kind of a group effort where everybody's kind of all working together. It sounds so cheesy. People make new friends. They talk to people they wouldn't have otherwise. And then the next thing you know, like everyone's rowing in the same direction. And our club matches are basically ran like a section or an area match. And that's the expectation. There's like no horseplay with like officiating. You're an RO. If you're not an RO, you're not running the timer unless you like want to learn or you need experience or we're shorthanded. Scoring is done just like an area or a section match. It's not like one dude rolling around like just counting off the score to himself. And that's just the way things run now. Like that's the expectation. But it's taken us a while to get there, of course. So
I'm sure it wasn't like that in the beginning.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Not at all. You need like if you got 80 guys coming to the match, you need that whatever core group 5, 6, 7 guys that are, like I said, all capable on some level of doing anything in theory, and they just kind of work together. No, it doesn't happen overnight at all.
Well,
if you have like a one man club where it's like one guy makes it happen, that becomes very difficult to pass that to somebody else because everybody else sees like how horrific that job is. Like, fuck that.
That's exactly what's happening right now.
Yes.
Well, and then, so I suppose a little bit behind the curtain, I was kind of the guy, I suppose, maybe rallying the troops a little bit. And so, like, throughout the week, I was already prepping people, be like, Ben, match days on Sunday. I'm going to need your help setting up a stage if you could. I need it to be, like, good or whatever. Like, oh, okay. And so, anyway, that was just the deal. I already had people lined up before match day. I'd already picked out people like, hey, you'll be really good. Help me out if you would. And then, you know.
No, but I mean, you guys had an existing club that had been in place for decades, really, right? A couple decades.
Yeah. Yep.
But that anyway.
Hey, Joe, when do you guys set up for your match? Like your match would be on a Saturday, a local match. When do you guys set up and start getting everything ready, getting stages on the ground?
Yep. They can show up as early as they want. Normally about 7 o'clock when somebody gets there. Registration closes at 8:30. Pretty much no exceptions unless you text or call ahead. Or like people from out of town, like they'll text like it'll be 20 minutes, like whatever, cool. And then it's hammered out at 9. So stage builders are
that morning.
Yep. So
Oh,
stage
okay.
building is done within, I don't know, hour and 15. Stages are up. The last
How many guys do you have working on that? Truly, like in a normal month?
20 people, maybe 10. I don't know. It just depends on, throughout the month who's there. On a colder month, it's going to be less. In
Funny how that works.
Yeah, May, June, July, people aren't like traveling, so there's going to be a lot of people there. So then when it gets like towards the end, stages are kind of getting roughly done. Normally the MD's like the clipboard guy. So he's not the guy hammering in nails, but just like, hey, would you go check that stage? Somebody check that stage. Somebody proof that one. And the expectations, like you just check, safe issues like with 180s, pass throughs. Does this look reasonable? Too many shots. Just you don't have to know every single rule in the rule book, but does this look reasonable? Does this look safe? Is this stupid? So sometimes somebody has like, dude, this isn't really. I mean, yeah, it's a stage by definition, but let's make a little bit of changes or whatever. And yeah, we have plenty of time to catch everything. And by then, registration closes at 8:30. You've got a little bit of time if you want to walk the stages. Otherwise, go grab your crap. You can drive.
Hey, Joel, I think what Frank was trying to get at is that he set shit up a different day than when the match is.
Oh.
Just guessing.
Yes. Yeah, we set up the day before because lack of help, so to speak. So we set up on us like our matches on Saturday. We set up on the Friday before, but we have to shut our whole club down in order to set up for the match.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before I was just
so here's a suggestion, Frank.
How?
Maybe you might just say like, yeah, we're setting up day of the match, and the match commences at this time, like when setup starts at this other time, and maybe I don't know, like you charge less or don't charge for a few dudes that set up something like that, and you just say like, yeah, we're doing it on the day of, and maybe you're just like, there's a couple matches that start late, and then people kind of get the message, and then it starts happening, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I got you. Well, once you get the message, then
it's like then you
start shooting at 11 o'clock. You better get here and help set up.
Yeah, like I don't know who it's going to be, but a few people got to get here early and do what they got to do.
Well, how far is the range for most people? I guess for a drive.
I used to have to do this. Like I'm just saying, like very early in my shooting career, I had to drive 90 minutes the day before match to help set up, and then drive 90 minutes back home, and then 90 minutes back the next day to shoot the match. Like it was fucked.
Hard pass.
Yeah. But it was the same thing. Lack of help.
Yeah, most of our club members are probably within 15 minutes of the range.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, like not to give away the secrets now, but I just like, texting those people like, hey, homeboy, I need help. Would you be willing to show up at 7 a.m. or whatever it is to help me out? You get a handful of those people. But I'm pretty, like Ben's been to my club. I'm pretty lucky. We have a very solid group here, and there's a lot of talent in my club. So it's a good group. Anyway.
Nice.
Sorry, I didn't mean to just brag, but.
Are you done with your spiel, Joel?
Sorry. Yes.
All right. No. Well, it's great. Frank, you have a pretty interesting topic, I think. That's why you're here.
So I wanted to talk about our match that we do. We do a called the Staten Island Championship. What it's actually, I love telling people about it whenever I travel outside, and we tell people, hey, we shoot this championship match in the confines of New York City. And I always get the same reaction for everybody. You do what? Where?
You
Like
can't do
legally?
that.
Like, yes, legally. We do shoot in New York City. We have a fairly big turnout too. So we have this. We won this match in June where there's another. Believe it or not, there's another rifle and pistol club a half a mile down the road from us. So we go ahead and once a year we put this match on and we use both clubs because we don't have the facility to run an actual championship match at one facility. We run 5 stages at each club. So it's a pretty interesting setup. What you do is you sign up when you sign up for the match. Based on what squad you sign up for, you'll know where you're going to be starting, either at Colonial or Richmond Borough, the other club down the road. And you go to that club in the morning. You shoot all 5 of those stages there. We break for lunch, and then everybody gets in their car and drives half a mile down the road and swaps clubs.
That's
So,
pretty interesting.
yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, the first year it was a logistical nightmare.
Sure.
Trying to coordinate 2 clubs. Trying to coordinate setup, and basically the president of the club over there is co-match director. So we both work on this together. We get a lot of help from the club members, a lot of help from the section. Our section coordinator is awesome. Last year we decided to do it make it a level 2 match. So and it worked out. It actually worked out very well. We were able to get a range master, George Jones, and God bless him for putting up with a bunch of Italian guys from.
Wait, you had one range master?
We had 2 range masters.
Two, you'd have to, right?
Yeah, because we have to have a range master at each club. He can't be driving back and forth. So yeah, so we actually got 2 range masters, but he was the lead range master. He had the most experience. And then we got another range master, Tommy from Long Island. He came over and lended a hand also. We got a huge turnout. That was with people helping. That was the one thing I was really surprised at. We weren't sure if we were going to get enough people to help. The first year we did it, we barely had enough ROs for every stage. We just made it to have 3 ROs. We were like, I don't know if we could do a match this big, but we put it out there, and the amount of people that volunteered to help was incredible. We had to turn people away. So it was unbelievable. Everyone from the section, all the clubs in my section really stepped up. The guys in Long Island, the guys in Rise, upstate. Which, by the way, Rise had a fire at their facility yesterday. So I wish those guys the best. Wish those guys the best.
Wait, at their like clubhouse?
They have an indoor range. It's actually an indoor.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and apparently there was a fire yesterday. So I don't know how much damage was done, but yeah, they said a couple of months they should be back up and running. So hopefully everything works out for them.
Couple months they should be back up. So it sounds like not a trash fire, like a proper.
No, I don't think it's a trash fire. No,
it's a proper fire.
Yeah, it was a fire. So, but yeah, everyone from the section really stepped up. Like I said, and they all came, showed up, and we ran this match like these guys showed up like it was their club match. Which was awesome. I mean, I was nearly in tears with the amount of help that we got and the amount of effort all these guys put into it. It was incredible. So, we're looking to hopefully do it again this year. We do it the first. We can only do it as a 1-day match, unfortunately, because we have a lot of club matches that go on. My club runs matches every Sunday. There's something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, whether it's a rifle match, a pistol match,
different disciplines. Okay.
A plate match. It's every Sunday. There's a different match.
So you guys have the big thing is you guys have a level 2 match, a section match, right? Or what was it? A section match or just a championship match? You called it?
Just called it a championship match.
Yeah, it wasn't for your section, but okay. So how does it work? So you shoot the morning at one club, eat lunch, then drive to the other club and shoot there in the afternoon?
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much how it worked. I mean, it's a long day, between breaking for lunch and driving back and forth to the clubs and getting your gear in the car and then driving to the other club, getting your gear ready again. So by the end of the day, we didn't finish till it was probably like 5:30, by the time the last shots were fired. So it's a long day, and everyone knows that going in, but luckily we were able to put on a championship caliber match.
So
sounds like fun.
I have a couple of questions. Number one, were the stages, like the stage flavor or whatever, was it different between the clubs? Was it like my
question too?
So it was like each club kind of did their own thing, and then okay, tell us about that. I'm curious.
So basically, I designed the stages at our club, and the assistant match director at the other club, Anthony, he designed the stages for Richmond Borough. So it's basically, you're going to two separate clubs. It's almost, it's totally two different flavors, because we actually have three shooting bays, and then we have the pistol side of our club where we have a shared firing line. So we put two stages over there. The other club, Richmond Borough, they only have one bay that they could use, and then they have a rifle and pistol side where they have shared firing lines. So that's how they run their 5 stages. So again, two totally different styles, so it's really like you're going to two separate matches.
Okay,
Wow.
and then at the end of the day, did you guys like get back together and do an awards thing, or were you just like, we're breaking it out, like we're done here? Or I'm curious how that went.
First, we finished kind of late, and we had people coming, from all over. At the end of the day, everyone kind of just like broke off.
I would imagine that's what would happen.
Yes. Yeah, fortunately, we couldn't do an awards dinner. We had a nice barbecued lunch though. We got volunteers.
Which club was the lunch at?
So the first year, the way we ran it was everybody went over to the other club, Richmond Borough, and we had lunch there. We gave out a bunch of prizes. We got some sponsors. So we gave out guns. We gave out a whole bunch of prizes, and everyone had lunch together. And it was great. It was really cool having everyone together. But it became a huge like clusterfuck, trying to get everyone in and out of that one club.
Sure.
Parking, and it was a nightmare. Last year, I was like, you know what? Why don't we have lunch at each club? So you shoot the morning of, and you stay there, have lunch, and then you swap clubs. So we kind of had to coordinate the stop time for both clubs to make sure they were the same and make sure people were leaving at the same time.
How was for the parking? Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
you
that's
see that driveway,
interesting.
you can only fit, one car going in and out.
Did you
So-
talk to the other match director at all as far as the stages go? Like, oh, I'm gonna have a loaded and unloaded start, whatever. Or did you guys just each do your own thing, and it was kind of just a surprise how it works out?
Yeah, we kind of each did our own thing, and it was a surprise how it worked out, and it turned out to be two totally different.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, we really didn't do anything the same. It was completely different.
That's fun.
It was a lot of fun.
I would like that a lot.
Well, it's an interesting way to make a section match happen, or I'm sorry, a level 2 match, championship match happen, where you look at it and be like, no, you guys can't do a championship match because you don't have enough space at your club. And you're like, well, plot twist, motherfuckers, we just use 2 clubs. It's pretty good.
That's kind of
like
how it happened. We're so close together. They're literally half a mile down the road from us. And we're like, you know what? I think we can make it.
By the way, it's pretty weird to have 2 shooting ranges in New York City within half a mile of each other.
That is.
Yeah. I think the only outdoor ranges in the city, as far as I know. Our range, our rifle side goes out to 200 yards. We have a 200-yard rifle range and a 50-yard pistol range. And the other club has a 100-yard rifle range. We're outdoors, it's covered, so, you're not exposed to the elements, but it is outdoors. And it works. I mean, as you can see, if you see my background, that's my club behind us. We put a lot of work into that club, and when you walk in that club, you would never know you were in New York City.
That's awesome.
And we like to keep it that way.
Wait, except for the bus depot, a literal stone's throw over one of the gates.
Yes, that came about probably about 5-6 years ago. The state bought the property right next to us, and they built a massive bus depot, which we thought was actually pretty awesome because they make more noise than we do, believe it or not.
No, it's good. And the city,
Yeah.
what is the city going to do to you about noise now?
Exactly.
Nothing.
So, I mean, they have a huge steel wall in between both of us. So, I mean, nothing can leave our range anyway. We have baffles all over the place. We're completely safe. Everything stays inside of our range. So we don't have any issues with that, but we figure the biggest issue that we always have is noise complaints, which we really don't get too often. So, but now with the bus depot there, everyone complains about the bus depot. Everyone forgot about us.
All right, so very interesting. And it's not the only, you guys aren't the only people I've heard of that have done something like this, but most of the times I've heard about this being done, it's a dumpster fire. But it's worked out for you guys, and that is
To be honest, the first year we did it, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. I was like, this is going to be a massive dumpster fire. But it actually worked out. People had a great time. I don't know, maybe because it was me, but I asked a lot of the competitors that I saw after the match. I was like, hey, what'd you think? What could we do better? What did you like? What didn't you like? And I really got no negative feedback. They're like, nah, considering, what you guys have to work with, you guys did a phenomenal job. You guys did a great job.
No, all right. There's one other thing that's interesting that you guys had at your club when I was there, and I want to talk about it. You're not allowed to shoot steel essentially for your pistol bays. Tell us about the poppers that you were testing out, because I thought they were interesting. They're not perfect, of course, but it was interesting at least. So tell us about it.
I actually just recently found out about those. I was, as a matter of fact, at that indoor range, and I'm in the first time I was shooting a match at the indoor range, and it took about three squads. I'm sorry, 3 people, 3 shooters, and I'm sitting there watching. They have plates set up, and all of a sudden, after the 3rd shooter, it dawned on me like, holy crap! I don't hear any ding. These plates are falling. I don't hear anything. Like, what the hell? So I run out there. I'm like, I got to see what this is. I go out there. I reset the plate, and it's some type of silicone material that you actually shoot through. So the bullet actually passes through. It's self-healing. So all it does is make a tiny pinhole dot on this thing. The bullet actually goes through it, and it falls down. So the company also makes, besides making plates, they make poppers. They make mini poppers and full-size poppers. So the price wasn't too bad. I think it was about, I don't know, $140 for the poppers, the popper and the base. I said, screw it, I'm gonna get a couple of them and try them out. So because we have, like Ben said, because we have a bus depot right on the other side of our fence line, we don't want any ricochets going that way.
Sure.
Yeah, so we don't want to shoot any steel up in those pits. Anytime we shoot steel, we gotta make sure they're underneath the cover, basically. So, we got these poppers, and they work fairly well. They're not perfect. I noticed that guys shooting open guns have a little bit of a problem with them because the velocities are so fast. They're going right through these poppers and not knocking them over the first time. So, but if you set them up correctly, the popper has to be kind of like right at that tipping point. They go down fairly consistently.
Huh. How long do those last? How many? I'm sorry, Ben, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So I asked the guys up at the indoor range. They said they've had them for 3 years that they've been shooting them. And when I talked to the girl that owns the company, she said they last for a couple thousand rounds through them. Before they really start falling apart, you get a few thousand rounds through them. She said she's got one in her office with 22 rounds that they test, and she's got probably about 18,000 22 rounds through it. Like, all right.
Wow.
So apparently hollow points are a little bit more detrimental to the targets.
Well, that's the idea, isn't
I
it?
can see that. That is the idea.
Bigger hole. Yeah, they're pretty interesting.
I guess the only other options, shrouds for the steel. Yeah. If you do that, which those are, what's a good way of putting it? Problematic as well.
That would definitely be problematic.
Those are a pain in the dick hole, in my opinion. Well, very interesting discussion, Frank. Let's move on. I have a question here, listener question. In my mind, if the board was forced to carry out their shenanigans in the open, they would get away with a lot less. We've seen the outrage stirred up by the recent doc leaks, for instance. Of course, they continue to try to hide everything they do behind closed doors in executive session, even going so far as apparently barring ADs from disclosing things to the members even when they would like to. My question that I would like to hear some discussion on is this. Although there may be some limited times when executive session might actually be required, how can we properly restrict its use to real necessity and require more transparency in the minutes? Guys, executive session, let's talk about, Joel, this is really up your alley. Executive session and board meetings, when is that necessary?
I need some liquid courage. Maybe Frank wants to go first. I need to hydrate,
Oh, come on. There's certain things that can't be disclosed to the public.
Yes.
Like if you're having a discussion
disciplinary issues, I suspect,
about like some employer or some shit, that cannot be public. It shouldn't be. If somebody like some member gets accused of XYZ or whatever, and they're just discussing whatever that is, that should not be public. That should, that member, maybe they didn't do anything wrong. Maybe they're just going to get tarred for no reason. Executive session is necessary, but how like what is a realistic limitation, or how do you restrict the use of things like executive session, guys? Any interesting ideas on how to do something like that? How to make rules for that?
So I could tell you,
Yes, you're on the board of your club as well, aren't you?
I am actually,
You're the president.
besides the master director, I am the president of my club, yes.
So you know a thing or two about boards.
Yeah, so a little bit. Yeah, I've been on the board for 10, 12 years now. Moved up through the ranks in the last 4 years. I've been the president. And I could tell you there is not too much that we don't disclose. You know, for the most part, everything we discuss is in our minutes. And I really think that's the way it should be. The first time I read the board of director
The USPSA boards.
USPSA boards, I read it and I saw motion to enter executive session, motion to exit exam. I'm like, what the hell is this crap? And then, after talking to some people, I found out that that's, what they do when they don't want to be discussed, whatever they discuss not to be released. And I said, well, that's kind of horseshit to me.
What,
like, I don't know.
what did you think of the minutes themselves? As far as the detail, like this and that.
I think they could be a little bit better. They seem to be a little bit lacking.
You can read the minutes all right. Yeah. Well, I guess. Yeah.
I read the minutes and I saw the meeting was 4 hours long and it's a half a page of minutes. I'm like,
to echo Frank, I'm actually on the board of directors for my gun club also.
What? Joel, you mean you're not just a howler monkey on a podcast? You actually do things in the real world?
I'm actually the treasurer of our gun club.
Oh, yeah, my God.
The proper
what?
Gun club. I know, it's
what?
Scary. Yeah, so we keep pretty detailed minutes of everything also. And the only time, so people can listen to the basically, there's a general membership meeting. So members can show up and voice their concerns and talk. Before that, it's just a meeting for the board. The door's opened, so there's people that kind of loiter or hang out or could overhear whatever. We don't discourage them, but they're not allowed to participate in that unless they're called upon or they have a reason where we're like a vendor kind of thing where we want something outside. Otherwise, it's only for board members. No one else talks. And then the only time we like close the door and kick everyone out is if it's trying to think. It's basically disciplinary action, something that's sensitive that would be.
Okay. Your club is. I'm sorry, Joel, to say this. You're BOC'd up enough that you literally have a discipline committee.
You're not wrong. Yeah, and if they're like, oh,
I love that so much about your club.
I won't say too much. Well, none of them are going to hear this, but it's ridiculous. But they'll be like, oh, I was watching the cameras and somebody broke 180 or something, like whatever. But anyway, if it's something like that, or there's an issue or somebody's whatever, that's not going to be public. The doors get shut and only the board members talk about that. And then if we take action, of course, because somebody needs to get barred, banned, reprimanded, then it would just be and then the minutes say like there was an issue with someone shooting the tables. They were suspended from the club for 6 months. You don't know who, what, where, when. You just know there's an event happened. They damaged club property, and this was the outcome.
Yeah, we do the exact same thing. Whenever we're talking about members individually, for whatever, if something happened, we absolutely never disclose the member's name, nor should we. But we let the general membership know, like, listen, an issue took place, something happened, and this is what we did. Period. So we have 2 meetings a month. One meeting is just for our executive board, and then we have our general membership meeting where we discuss with the members what happened at the executive board meeting. We let everyone voice their opinion. We hear from all our match directors, and that's the time for the membership to speak up. And I take that time extremely seriously. Whenever someone brings something to me, I bring it back to the board. I don't brush people off. Like yeah, okay, whatever. That's not the way to run a club.
All right. Well, I guess to go back to the question, there may be some limited times executive session might actually be required. You two, with practical experience on real boards, agree. Sometimes there's certain things you cannot disclose for whatever reason. How can we properly restrict its use to real necessity and require more transparency in the minutes? Like tell you my opinion on this. You can't really write rules effectively governing. That's going to stop people abusing executive session. In my opinion, the USPSA Board of Directors abuses executive session. It's a real thing that you need. They abuse it. How do you stop them from abusing it? You're not going to be able to write rules. They'll just, do what they do and undermine it. You need to change the leadership, in my opinion. People who don't brush people off. I mean, you need just different attitudes running the show. Certain personalities, they're just going to, essentially, they're going to pull shenanigans one way or the other. If we found somebody smart enough to write rules about exactly how you do executive session, this or that, they would just do some other sort of shenanigans. Like, let's say the board of directors would get a quorum together on a conference call and just say, we're going to have a discussion and not a meeting. And then just no minutes. It wasn't even a real thing. It didn't happen. It was just a discussion. It wasn't a meeting. And so on. Shenanigans. It's always going to happen if you have personalities in place that want to do it. I think as an observer, if you're looking at the minutes that you get from the USPSA board and the, I think, fairly obvious abuse of executive session, you don't like that. The solution to this is not to write some horseshit rules that they're just going to find some way around anyway. It's to change the personalities in the leadership. That's my opinion. Joel, I'm sure you have a lot of things to say about what I just said, so why don't you take it away, buddy?
No, I think you covered it well.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Joel. I have to fuck with you.
You aren't that sorry.
I'm not at
No, we have a pretty thorough group. So like the guy that's the secretary, if people are talking too fast, but hold up, stop. Who made the motion? Okay. He's like, hold up, I'm typing. And like once he gets up to speed, he's like, okay, now proceed. It's there's no guesswork anyway. But that's it. That's all I got.
Frank, anything to say about anything?
I don't disagree with you. I definitely don't disagree.
You don't have to agree with me. I say incendiary things, sir.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, and that's probably the reason that I'm going to be running for Area 7 director.
Oh my
baby.
God.
Let's go.
Well, it certainly sounds like you have an attitude of somebody who's, you're like, yeah, I don't brush people off, and we have accurate minutes. Like, fuck, that's a huge step up for Area 7. Look at that. Anyway, well,
on that note,
great. On that note, I think this was a bang up podcast, Joel.
Listeners, if you have a question you want the answer to, go to my website. It's bensteger.com. Send me your question. I'd love to hear from you.
You retard, Joel.